Welcome to Kanerika's podcast, The Digital Shift.
Today we're diving into, well, one of the most high-stakes environments there is, the pharmaceutical world. We're really going to analyze the critical decisions leaders are facing on data quality, on speed, and of course, regulatory compliance.
Yeah, and when you look at the landscape right now, the core tension is just so clear. Life-saving innovation is being throttled. And it's not the science that's the bottleneck, it's the technology underneath it.
It really is.
We're doing a deep dive into content that reveals the staggering, and I mean truly staggering, cost of data delays in an industry where speed is, without a doubt, patient safety.
We really need to chart this urgency. We'll start by confronting the specific multi-million-dollar daily cost of just relying on old reporting systems. Yeah. Then we'll get into why those traditional static reports are just fundamentally not enough for modern regulations.
Or for safety monitoring. And crucially, we'll shift the focus to the solution. You know, how dynamic platforms like Microsoft Power BI can enable real-time insights and actually speed up R&D.
And finally, we'll talk about the expertise needed to navigate that migration process because it is high risk. You can't jeopardize compliance.
Absolutely. Okay, let's start with the hard numbers. What's driving this huge transformation?
The statistics are, they're pretty sobering. Operating a clinical trial is profoundly expensive. We're talking roughly $50,000 a day.
$50,000?
Yeah.
Just to operate?
Just to keep the lights on. But that's only the operational cost. The real financial penalty for any kind of delay is it's much, much steeper.
Okay, so what's the real number?
Well, sources estimate that every single day a therapy is just sitting there waiting for final approval. The company loses up to $1 million in potential drug sales.
$1 million
right.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Just lost because the data is held hostage by slow infrastructure. I mean, that's not just that's completely unsustainable. That's capital that could be funding the next breakthrough.
And this isn't some rare problem. Data shows that 90% of clinical trials have at least a month-long delay.
90%?
And nearly half of those delays, you can trace them right back to issues with contracting and, you guessed it, data management bottlenecks. Now just think for a second about the human cost.
Yeah.
An analysis of oncology trials showed it takes, on average, 300 days. That's almost 10 months for analyzed results to get from the research team to the actual medical community.
300 days. Just try to get your head around that if you're an oncology patient or a family just waiting for information.
Yeah. When
you connect that technical lag to the human reality, the infrastructure failure becomes a genuine safety crisis.
It does.
I mean, if you've got thousands of patients in a phase 3 trial and you spot an adverse event, waiting even 48 hours for someone to manually compile the data to verify that pattern,
yeah,
that could escalate a small concern into a huge safety event. The data infrastructure itself is an active risk factor.
And that brings us right to the data dilemma. It all stems from these legacy systems, like crystal reports. For decades, they were fine. They provided compliant paper reports. But in today's world, this global high-velocity pharma environment, they're just fundamentally broken.
Okay, so static reports sound inefficient. But for years, they worked, right? They met the needs of regulators. What specifically changed that makes that snapshot method such a risk now?
The world moved to real-time analysis, and crystal reports it didn't. They deliver these fixed static outputs. Think PDFs or batch documents. They are a snapshot in time.
Picture the past.
Exactly. Modern clinical operations need dynamic dashboards. They need managers to be able to instantly filter data, drill down into patient-level details, and see safety trends across the globe in real time. A fixed document just can't do that.
And the operational absurdity that this creates must be immense. So if a safety officer wants to change just one tiny parameter, say, look at events only in patients over 65, the static system forces them to, regenerate a whole new report.
That's it. A whole new report from scratch. It's a massive bottleneck. And generating that new report, it means extensive manual data extraction, manipulation, and then human verification, which is, both time-consuming and incredibly error-prone.
Every hour spent manually compiling that document is an hour you're not spending analyzing data to optimize a drug's dosage or, say, prevent a supply chain issue.
Precisely. And this manual effort is made worse by the fragmentation of information. Legacy systems, they typically connect to just one database at a time, which instantly creates these data silos.
So R&D's data is in one place, manufacturing's in another, quality control in a third.
Exactly. And it becomes almost impossible to get a single, unified view of a drug's entire life cycle, from discovery all the way through to patient outcomes.
And that fragmentation, I'm guessing, creates a huge barrier to the future, to things like AI.
A massive one. These old reporting tools, they just don't have the architectural flexibility you need to integrate with advanced analytics, with AI, with machine learning. If a company wants to move into, say, personalized medicine, their data is simply not ready. It's not accessible to the algorithms.
So, okay, we've got a situation where these outdated systems are costing millions, they're delaying patient access, and they're actively undermining safety. So what actually changes when a company moves to a modern platform, something like Microsoft Power BI? How does it move the needle?
The change is, it's transformative because you shift your focus from just reporting data to gaining insight from it. Take pharmacovigilance, for example. Instead of waiting days for a batch report, an interactive Power BI dashboard can immediately flag anomalies and adverse events across global markets.
So you're accelerating the time it takes to launch an investigation from days down to, what, minutes?
That's the goal. That speed is a game changer. We've seen evidence where modern platforms can complete complex processes that used to take months, like integrating all these different clinical and lab data sets in less than 5 minutes.
Wow, 5 minutes.
And the transformation goes right into compliance. Power BI supports the most stringent regulatory requirements, especially good manufacturing practices, or GMP, and those foundational ALCOA plus principles.
The standards that ensure data is attributable, legible, contemporaneous,
Yeah,
all of that.
all of that.
So is Power BI by itself enough to satisfy those intense audit trail requirements, the things that guarantee every single piece of data is reliable?
Not entirely by itself, no, but it provides the essential transparency. It gives you this real-time visibility into production, tracking batch records, deviations, all of it. This kind of granular oversight is critical for audit readiness, especially for the FDO's 21 CFR Part 11 requirement.
Which governs all electronic records.
Right. And when you implement it correctly, with the right controls, Power BI can automate those compliance reports and support electronic signatures, the full audit trails. It just streamlines the entire audit process.
And what's really interesting here is how it democratizes the data. It's not locked away in IT anymore. Researchers can create their own analyses on the fly. Sales teams can tailor strategies instantly. It's that self-service capability that empowers everyone to be data-driven.
This transition is, well, it's necessary and it's urgent, but we have to be honest about the difficulty. Moving from a static system like Crystal Reports to an interactive one like Power BI is not just a software update. It is a high-stakes architectural migration.
Right, this is where that migration minefield comes in. You're not just moving files around, you're moving years and years of deeply ingrained business logic.
Precisely. Crystal Reports makes documents. Power BI is a data exploration platform that requires you to fundamentally rethink every single report design. But the core technical challenge, the really hard part, is accurately translating that complex business logic.
The logic that's hidden in all those nested formulas inside Crystal Reports.
Exactly, translating that into Power BI's languages, DAX and Power Query M.
And the risk of getting that wrong is, well, catastrophic. If you misinterpret a single formula defining a clinical endpoint or a quality metric, your regulatory report is flawed. You're risking massive fines or even a product withdrawal.
And that risk is compounded by security. We're talking about protected health information, sensitive IP. Legacy systems often have very basic security. To meet modern standards like HIPAA or 21 CFR Part 11, you need advanced row-level security, or RLS, to restrict access based on a user's role.
Which is paramount, and doing it manually sounds tedious and incredibly error-prone.
It is. So given that immense technical and compliance risk, this is really where specialized expertise becomes indispensable. This is not a DIY project.
Absolutely not. The need is for partners who understand not just the software, but the very specific regulatory environment you're in.
Which is where strategy comes in to really de-risk this whole transition.
And this is exactly where we at Kanerika bring a specialized, structured approach to manage that risk. We use our proven methodology, the impact framework. That's identify, map, prove, analyze, create, and transform. It's an agile approach we designed specifically for these kinds of complex projects.
But the real complexity is still in conquering those specific formula and logic roadblocks.
That's where our proprietary automation tools really make the difference. We developed our FLIP migration accelerator specifically because we saw that converting that business logic manually is just too high risk. These tools can automate up to 80% of the migration tasks,
80%.
including that complex formula conversion and data model extraction. It's why we so often reduce the total project duration by months. The automation gives you speed, but the accuracy is what ensures compliance.
That makes sense.
Yeah, our flip tools meticulously preserve all that complex logic and ensure data integrity through multi-stage validation. And because we at Kanerika have this deep pharmaceutical expertise, we understand the details from systems like LIMS and Maze have to connect directly to compliance reports. We make sure our solutions are fully compliant and audit-ready from day one.
To put a real outcome to this, we can look at the case study of Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. They had a challenge that's really common: fragmented data across more than 15 different sources. Oracle, SQL Server, Hive, with volumes up to 2 terabytes.
With that level of fragmentation, governance and identifying sensitive data must have been almost impossible to manage.
It was. So the solution involved implementing a unified Power BI platform and designing this robust data governance architecture customized for CCPA and HiPay. It integrated all those sources into one secure, single source of truth.
And what was the measurable impact for them?
It was comprehensive. They got faster, more informed decision-making across the board. The security team could finally identify and protect sensitive data easily. But the most impressive metric, I think, was for R&D. For their AI-driven drug discovery pipelines, they now process close to 5,000 records per second,
Wow.
finishing analytical processes that used to take months in less than 5 minutes.
That kind of acceleration is the difference between leading the market and constantly playing catch-up. And beyond just the migration, the long-term value here is in building a future-ready ecosystem with strong governance and AI integration.
Fortifying that data foundation with governance is key. That means using tools like Microsoft Purview to get enterprise-wide data cataloging and clear lineage tracking. That's vital for any regulatory audit.
And we at Kanerika enhance that with our own specialized governance suite. It's not just software. It guarantees an unbroken chain of custody, which for a GMP audit is probably the most valuable asset you can have. Kangovern enforces policies. Comply automates checks for 21 CFR Part 11 and OPI, and KanGuard protects that sensitive data.
So Power BI, sitting as that integrated dynamic front end, becomes this crucial bridge to the future. It enables all the most cutting-edge capabilities.
And that bridge allows for things like agentic AI. We're talking about autonomous analysis that can predict clinical trial dropout rates or identify manufacturing defects before a batch even fails.
And generative AI.
Right. You can customize generative AI to instantly summarize massive, lengthy clinical study reports or pull critical data from unstructured lab notes. It just dramatically speeds up R&D.
Which brings us right back to where we started. The urgent choice for pharmaceutical leaders today is whether they can really afford another day without real-time integrated data. Migration isn't a cost. It's an investment in safety, in compliance, and in competitive edge.
And it just underscores the fundamental importance of partnering with specialized experts, relying on those proprietary tools like our FLIP accelerators to ensure that data integrity is preserved during such a high-stakes transition. The compliance risk is just too high to go it alone.
Absolutely. The decision to delay is becoming more and more perilous.
So we'll leave you with this one final provocative thought. The greatest risk of delaying this modernization is not the fine you might get for a compliance lapse. It's the massive missed innovation opportunity. Without integrated, dynamic, AI-ready data, are you truly positioned to discover the next breakthrough therapy, or are you just handing that advantage directly to a competitor who decided to modernize yesterday?